Welcome back to the channel, Classic Volkswagen Lovers Junior with classic VW Bugs and some new Super Beetle. In today's video, I am going to be replacing all of the window seals for my car. In this kit option that I purchased the trim molding. The only seal that really was bad in my car was the rear windshield seal. For some reason, every time I went online, I couldn't find the California look one, so I am going to have to remove the two side quarter rear windows and also replace those for the new ones, because I also purchased in my kit the trim molding for that. I'm just going to go ahead and get started removing the old rear window seal and start installing them. By the size, it looks like that's the right one. So we're going to remove this all rotted seal. And what I did, I took a piece of tape and I tried to eyeball the center and got a pretty close measurement to the center. So next I'm going to find the seam for this seal here, and I'm going to start installing that here. I'm going to show you something with the old seal. So the seal has two grooves in it. One groove, and then you have a second groove. So what you want to do is make sure that when you insert the glass, it's in the first groove nearest to the glass, and this one here, you can tell is the right one because it's deeper than the one for the chrome molding, and it also has a deeper crease inside of it. It's hard to show it here. I'm going to try not to use any lubricants because some lubricants are very harmful to rubber. So here is the glass. As you can see, I have my middle mark in the glass. I started by placing this end here, and then I started down this way. I started going down this way. And then here I had to bend these a little bit more than what they were to make them almost an exact fit. Then as I went over, I kept going, and then what you want to do is, if you have some of these plastic grips or clamps, you want to clamp it in place. You can see that that one came up because I opened that, but you want to make sure that it stays there. And then you do the same all the way up to here, and here you're going to do the same. So I placed that one right there. I sort of like left a little gap to allow me some room for any minor adjustments. And then I did the same this way, and I kept molding it until I got it to almost a perfect alignment with the group. So you can see this is the trim molding, and down here you can see the groove. So we're gonna have to fiddle a little bit with it when we start installing it. And then here I'm doing the same. I'm trying to get it as close as possible to where it needs to be. And then you can see here where it's going past the other end. So I'm gonna go ahead and transfer this marking here to here, and I'm gonna cut both pieces to have them perfectly aligned in the center of the glass. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and you probably won't see that in the video, but I'm gonna go ahead and I have to go outside, get a hacksaw and cut these to make sure that they are the same length. All right. Okay, so we already have our trim molding kind of where it needs to be, but I want to share with you a quick trick that I do. So if you notice, I have a red line here, which determines that that's the center for my rear windshield. So the way I figured that out, after I installed the rubber, I measure from the very edge here all the way up to here and divide that by 2, and I'll get half of that. So basically that will be your center. So because of the odd shape that your glass is, you wonder, so how would I transfer a marking here or here down to here? And there's many possible ways to do that. The way that I do it, I grab a piece of paper and I fold it in half, just like so. And then after I fold that in half, I find my middle, the marking that I set up, which in this case, you can say it's basically this right here. And so what I do, if you notice, I have a rear windshield with a defogger. So I use the defogger lines to help me transfer this marking here down to here or here by taking the piece of paper and finding that defogger line right here. I'm going to mark the paper so you can see the defogger line. So you can see that if you put that right there in the middle, it aligns right here in the middle as well. Anywhere you do that, it will align. So the way I did it, I found my middle section and I found that line right there, just right there, and then if you bring this over, you can see that that right there is this line right here. So I aligned that right there, making sure I align this middle section here with that one right there. And you can see that the lines actually match. It might not be 100% perfect, but I assure you that it is very close to 100%. So, and then once you do that, you can trace a line with a ruler like so. And that's basically my middle section right there. So, and the way that I went about that was making sure that I had, first of all, the rubber seam in the center of the glass, and then now I transfer that all the way down to here. As you can see, these metal trim or chrome trim pieces are a little bit too long than they need be. So this way, I start here, like I said, allowing me some gap in there for fitment. And now I'm going to come down here, and I already put a marking right there, and that's where I'm going to go outside with a hacksaw and cut that excess off. I will probably cut a little bit more. I'll cut outside this line here and here to give me a little bit of a gap to play with it when I'm installing it, because the little sliding clip that goes there will cover that. And that's how I'm going to do it. And another thing that I will tell you that I like to do when I'm cutting this pieces of molding, I use tape, and I put the tape over it so that when I cut, I don't risk a chance that I'm going to damage the trim molding or scuff it or scratch it with the hacksaw. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll come back and show you what that looks like once I install it. Then the next thing I'm going to do is grab my tape and label which side it's which side. So I'm going to just label left, right, and then up and up to make sure that I don't interchange them when I come back, because then I'll have a problem, okay? So I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so I already trimmed the crumb molding to size, both pieces, and the next thing I'm doing, I am using some trimmer line, and I'm inserting it in the groove all the way around, just the same way that you would do when you're installing the glass, but instead of using a trim line, you're using about a 3/8 rope that you insert in the channel when you are inserting the glass in the car opening. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to insert this trim wire all the way around until I get right up to here. So some people don't use this technique. They just opt to press in with their thumb, just without nothing. But I figure that if this works for the glass, it should also work for the trim molding. Now we're going to try to install that trim molding. I'm going to go ahead and insert the little clips that hold it together, and I'll keep this piece of tape here because it might come in handy. So the same with the other one over here. Just like so. Okay, so I slit the little clip right there, and now I'm going to align this with my line right there. I'm going to start pulling this right there. Okay, so we got her in. Okay, good. So now, as I go, I'm going to apply pressure with my thumb, little by little,
And now, do this. Just like so. Right there.
Notice that all this time I have been installing the trim molding without using any type of lubricant. Just with the A of the clamp and just masking tape or painter's tape right now. So a little trick, when you get to these corners right here, it helps you tilt this up a little bit and try to get that edge inside the groove. Okay guys, so that's pretty much it. And when you are butting up the last piece with the one that's already installed, then you just slide it. And I like to use these plastic pry bars, high impact pry bars, because they do not scratch the surface. So that's pretty much it. That's already installed. So I'm gonna let it sit like that until tomorrow. And then tomorrow, hopefully I can install it. If you can get some of these clamps, they sell these at Harbor Freight. These are worth to have because they do help a lot when you are installing the grip. Actually, these bigger ones, they work better than the smaller ones for this type of work because they pretty much grab onto it. You can clip it and it will stay in place. Okay guys, so that's pretty much it. Hopefully you get an idea on how I did it. There's always many ways to do it. This is how I like to do it. It's not an easy job, especially this American style trim molding. The German one is actually easier to my understanding to install because it has sort of like an umbrella shaped format. So in the middle you have something like this, and then on top you'll have your trim molding cap, which actually sits like this, and then at the bottom is sort of like have a little foot that anchors inside the groove. So I know that for any near future projects that I may entertain the idea to install a trim molding, even though I may have to pay a little bit more, I will do so because it is so much easier than this one here. All right, so this is pretty much it. You see the molding installed, and that's ready to be installed in the car. Then you do the same step for the front windshield and your side quarter rear panels. That's pretty much it. All right, that's it for now. If this is the first time that you're watching my channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until then, this is Junior with Classic VW Bucks. Junior out.